Hello, everybody. Glad to be back and back in the swing of things. Had a wonderful time in Mexico, snorkeling in bat caves and hanging out on the beach with the full moon as turtles came up and laid their eggs. And second time I left the country recently and made more money, multiple times what the cost of the trip was. And that's the definition of financial independence. And that's, what we need to be really grateful for, the fact that we can click buttons and essentially manifest our reality by giving ourselves the means to call things into our lives that we want financially, and the cryptocurrencies are providing a great way to do that. So I traded Bitcoin a couple of times while I was in Mexico, and it was really easy for me to do that because it was a blue sky breakout, and I just bought the blue sky breakout multiple times, and I was only looking at the computer, 15 minutes a couple times a day, so not sitting there trading it as actively as I had in the past. So I was using looser stop loss levels and using stop limit buy orders on these breaks of resistance, and I'll point a couple of those out, but just a really more passive way to be trading and still a way to make money. And obviously I didn't make, as much as I would have if I were sitting here as I normally am, but obviously I'm not going to complain about that, as coming back with more than I left with heading to Mexico, and the account continues to be at all-time highs, as is reflected with this bullish action in these cryptocurrency spaces. So it's very huge, the fact that Bitcoin hit a new all-time high on this go-around, because everybody's talking about bubble and everybody's talking about overvalued in, just crazy hype. The fact that we pulled back and hit a new all-time high is just another point in favor that this space is going nowhere. And this is definitely here to stay, and it's definitely real, and it's making people realize that. And that's, this is the first time that the general public and CNBC started hearing about these cryptocurrencies, and, people talking about a bubble and people getting a little scared, and wow, it's run so fast, so hard, so soon, and it's got to pull back big time. And now to, a month or two later, 6 weeks later, hearing new all-time high again, that's definitely going to resonate, and that's going to make people say, oh man, maybe this is for real. So that's very significant, in my opinion, psychologically, with the price action that's going on. So where we stand with Bitcoin, obviously the new all-time high was very bullish, and we saw a blue sky breakout, and this is the weekly chart that we're starting on, and we're very, very strong. We consolidated with the RSI from the 90 range on the weekly. We pulled all the way back on that consolidation down to 53. That was sufficient cooling off of that RSI, and here we are back to the upside again with a significant, strong move. So looking at it on the daily time frame, and the bull break that I was looking at to get in on my first position while I was in Mexico was 29.25, and we'll look at that on the hourly time frame a little bit more. I'm just cleaning up some of this circles here. So on the daily time frame, the very clear resistance, and it was a bit of an ascending triangle pattern, where you could put the last video I did, you said you could put your resistance line there on the real candles. You could put it on the all-time high, but you can see the higher low pattern as it's getting tighter and tighter, and the bull volume obviously poured in. Huge move to the upside. I got in when 29.25 broke. Now, there was still another resistance level to be looking at, but we were watching to see if that level breaks, in my opinion, with just two resistance levels to be looking at. So 29.25 and then the all-time high of 29.57. I can be confident that if we break 29.25, that I feel we're going to hit a new all-time high. That has bullish momentum, and obviously that's how it played out, and was able to get a few $100s to the upside on that move. And our target originally on the break of 3,300 was to hit, or to break, once we broke 3,000, was to hit 3,300. We got up to 33.35, and then we consolidated a little bit and then saw further movement to the upside. The highlight of this video is going to be inside bars. There are so many inside bar plays on every single time frame that was signaling bullish action, and I highlighted that on ETH and LTC in the last video I did 4 days ago before I left. So that is important as well that we're going to point out. So here, just an example, an inside bar on the daily time frame, 1 day of consolidation. As soon as we break the high of that inside bar, 32.78, that's the bull signal. And that day we get up to 314.16. So that's another $150 to the upside. We did just form a bearish reversal spinning top candlestick, and we're potentially starting to confirm it. So we have to be cautious of consolidation. I'm also watching the hourly time frame. Let's go to the 4 hour first, but you can see we're just getting a little toppy. We're leveling out. We have a little bit of a double bottom here at 33.50, and it's by 9 cents that double bottom is holding. So we know now if 3350 breaks, further consolidation is coming. If I were in a position right now, a shorter term position on Bitcoin, I would want to exit if 3350 breaks. So we look at the hourly time frame, and it's a bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern that is forming here. So we have our left shoulder, our head, our right shoulder, and there's the neckline right there. A lot of people they draw an uptrend line for the neckline. I like the fact that double bottom is there. It means I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to leave that double bottom as the level. If that breaks, we're heading down, and the next support is going to be 3328 and 3300. And I do believe that 3328 will break. Same psychology as what I just pointed out on the way up with breaking that one resistance before that all-time high. If we break this double bottom, the odds of breaking that 3328 level right after it are very high because the bears will recognize that clear bear break, and we'll see further profit taking and further shorts pile on. So that's the level to be watching in the short term, and this is a very clear potential pattern that we need to be watching to play out. So as of right now, with where we stand, with Ethereum and Litecoin running very significantly while Bitcoin consolidated, so Bitcoin was the star of the show at all-time highs, then it began consolidating, and then Ethereum and Litecoin took off. And if we do see Bitcoin break this neckline of support and start to consolidate further, I do believe that it is going to be some weight on the bullish action of Ethereum and Litecoin as well. So Ethereum's been on absolute fire. Here's the weekly time frame. We consolidated for 6 weeks. Look at the inside bar. Weekly was an inside bar here. It broke at 230 to the upside, and that was a signal for the weekly time frame. So obviously the bulls are very strong. What I anticipate to happen here, Bitcoin at all-time highs, I don't think Ethereum's going for an all-time high here. We're very, very extended on the 4-hour time frame, the daily time frame. We need to consolidate in the short term in Ethereum. I do believe we're going to see an equilibrium pattern begin to play out. I think we have our high, our low of the pullback, and I think we're going to form our lower high here. So anything under 420, the all-time high, is another lower high, and I do believe that is what is going to occur. Now, that could happen at 350. It could happen at 380. As far as that goes, I'm not sure, but I am going to be scouting out for a bearish reversal candlestick after this significant bull move to be looking for a lower high and an equilibrium pattern to be set. And that's because we're coming off of a huge bullish move, a huge break and volatility and volume, and now we're seeing a low, and just that's the way that it's forming to me, the pattern that I've seen play out tens of thousands of times at this point. It does look like that is more likely than not to begin to play out again. But at this point, we have no sign of the bulls slowing down. Look at these inside bars. This is the last video I did. We had multiple inside bars in a row, 3 in a row. As soon as we broke 226.82, that is your bull signal. Look at the volume. The volume dropped off as we tightened, and we just exploded to the upside with 5 green days. And the volume, though, we had that 1 day of volume of 100,000, and the next day was 321,000. So a 220% increase in volume on the bull break, and that just tells you that all the traders recognize it. The short traders recognize it and they cover, and the long traders recognize it and they all pile in. So on the 4-hour time frame, what that pattern was a higher low, lower high pattern, and that's what inside bars are zoomed in. So here's our high, low, lower high, higher low. Look how extremely tight we got, and then look at this block of bull volume, and we were off to the races. We are extremely overbought. Looking back at the all-time high RSI was up at 91 on the 4-hour time frame, and here we are right now at about 90. So we are going to pull back in the near-term future. This looks like an hourly, a 4-hour volume climax to me. This is the highest 4-hour volume that we've seen in a few days. We have seen periods before where it's been high volume and not a climax, but just seeing the 5 green hours in a row, and it's coming after these 5 green hours, I do believe that we are going to see a top form in the near-term future. So I would just be cautious. If you're still in a position, there's no reason to exit unless you see further signals. And looking on the hourly time frame for more details, the key base of support right now for me is 292. That's an important level. 300 psychological is also a key level of support. But if we break 292, we lose the higher low pattern. If you wanted to be more protective of gains, we're looking at this higher low of 305. This is a bearish reversal spinning top candlestick. We are not confirming it, and this is candlesticks about to close. So that's a nice save by the bulls, and they are certainly still in control. There's no doubt about that. I'm just cautious going forward, and I obviously would not be making any bullish entries up at this point. If you're not in at this point, you missed this run. And, there's going to be plenty of other opportunities. I was not in this run. I was traveling all day, flying, waking up at 6 a.m. and traveling for 16 hours. So I didn't get any of this Ethereum move. And I'm not looking at it and saying, oh, man, I maybe thought that for 3 seconds. But I was playing Bitcoin. I made profit. It's been a good week. Could have been a great week, but I was living life, and I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, if I just stayed home and sat on the computer, I could have made this many dollars. So it's important to not get that FOMO, fear of missing out, because we're going to miss out. Unless you're sitting long, well, even if you're sitting long, you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on opportunities to sell the top and buy back, 25% cheaper. There's always going to be opportunities that we don't get in both directions, whether we're long, whether we're day traders, whether we're shorting things, it's going to happen. So we just need to move past that and accept that it's going to happen and do the best that we can in the meantime. So on the hourly time frame, bulls are still in full control. Our resistance is 314.71. In terms of where to find resistance after this, I'm looking on the daily time frame first, and I'm seeing this top right here. 323.69, I think that's going to be a solid level of resistance. That was when we had a bounce attempt from oversold conditions on the shorter term time frames. We topped out, and then we saw weeks of further pullback. So we're now on an extended move to the upside. The bulls are getting a little bit tired on the shorter term time frames, and I do believe that if we do see continuation, this 323, 324 level is going to be tough for the bulls to break through. And after that resistance, I'm looking up at 333 as the next resistance level to be watching after that. So if you're looking for support after a breakout, you're looking on the hourly time frame. And if you're looking at resistance, because we haven't been in this range in a while, you're looking on the daily time frame. Litecoin had a huge move as well. Litecoin's going to see new all-time highs in the near-term future, in my opinion. And we're on our way there. So the bulls established a base of support after consolidating for a month, and now they broke that, breaking the high of the previous multiple weeks in a row and trying to see some follow-through. I'll keep an eye on this bearish MACD on the weekly time frame just in case. It's not going to dictate any decisions, but it would be worth watching if we do get that bearish cross, because we could have the potential here, just like Ethereum, to see an equilibrium pattern. We have our high, low of the pullback, and the potential lower high to form here, compared to 57.75, the all-time high, and then we'll look to form a higher low. So the weekly chart for both Ethereum and Litecoin, equilibrium pattern is fairly likely in my opinion. The daily time frame, look at this inside bar bull break. We had multiple of them. Inside bar, 1, 2, bull break occurs, 2-day huge move. So on that bull break, we had 42.87. 2 days later, we're at 47.09. So almost a $5 move. Then we had inside bar, bull break. On that bull break, 46.50, right up to $50, $3.50 in 1 day. And here we are consolidating again. So a nice break of the lower high pattern. Here's our high, low, lower high, higher low, and we broke that lower high. As soon as we got over 47.93, that was significant. We've got $50 psychological resistance. In terms of support, we'll zoom in. But after $50, I'm looking up at 52.61, the high of this one bullish candlestick, the attempt to bounce after 3 days of pullback. That's where we topped out with a little double top on the daily time frame. So now to the 4-hour time frame, we zoom in and we see a huge amount of that volume and bull move was in 1 4-hour time span. And we had an ascending triangle pattern here as well, where we had our high, or you could use the real bodies of the candlesticks, whichever you prefer. And in this case, I would like price levels more, where we have our high, the low of the pullback down here. Then we had our low. Our lower high was right there at 46.50. Our higher low pulled back. I would call that higher low right here at 45.76. And then the bull break with huge volume. So let's look at that on the hourly time frame to get a bit more detail and see those levels with the ascending triangle pattern. So our high, low, lower high, higher low, bull break. Clear bull break occurred at 46.40 in my opinion, because look at where our tops are. Even though, same thing as I pointed out first thing with Bitcoin, even though our resistance here is 46.50, when you top out at 46.39, 46.40, and then 46.38, I can say, okay, if we break that little triple top just before the 46.50 resistance, I'm very confident that the bull's ability to break that triple top will lead to enough momentum to break that resistance as well. It's the same thing with the Bitcoin all-time high, which made me enter after 29.25 broke. So we had the bull break. Look at the volume on the hourly time frame. Pretty much one hourly candlestick, huge move to the upside. But we're in consolidation mode now. It's healthy consolidation on declining bear volume. But our high has been set at 49.98. Our low of this pullback is 47.67. There's tons of volatility here. And now we're heading back down towards this support. So if 47.67 breaks, we know the bears are in further control for a bit longer. If this level holds, the next resistance I'm looking at is our lower high where we hit our low of the pullback. Our lower high is now 48.89, and now the bears are back in control in the short term. So if we see this break of 47.67, the next level that I'm looking at is previous resistance, now support of 47.09, the top after, or the top before this breakout occurred. So those are the levels I'm watching for support: 47.67, 47.09, and resistance 48.89 and $50 psychological. So Litecoin bears are in control of consolidation currently. Ethereum bulls are still in full control of this breakout. They haven't pulled back yet, and they're going to test this high here of 314.71. And I might even want to get in here and just try and get a little $5 scalp as we approach that 320s resistance. But very, very cautious. Any entries up here should have a very, very tight leash and be very quick in terms of when to lock in profit at this point. And again, just to wrap up on Bitcoin, Bitcoin is consolidating as well, watching this potential bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern. If this does break bearish, I do believe that we will see further downside in Ethereum and Litecoin as well, a little bit more downward pressure as we see profit taking after a very bullish 4 or 5 days in a row for this space. Huge market cap gains across the cryptocurrency space and a lot of profit to be had yet again. This space is not going anywhere. Congrats to all the bulls, and I will do a altcoin video this weekend. And I'll continue to check back in more regularly now that I'm back in the States. Thanks for checking in. Have a great night. We'll see you soon.